I'm now going to move on to our final event, which we've been looking forward to. This is the event titled Young Voices from South Asia, a spoken word poetry performance by youth artists across the region. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to invite our first performer, Seep Agrawal, who works at UNICEF India, and she'll be talking to us about how the pandemic has disproportionately impacted learning in the South Asian context. Over to you, Seep. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you so much, Mohini. Am I audible?
Yes.
Perfect. Good evening, everybody. My name is Seep, and the poem I'm going to be sharing today is called A Statement of Purpose. I wrote this poem almost 3 years back when I was 20 years old and in my last year of college as a retake on college essays and SOPs because I was in the process of filling some master's applications and I realized that there was one common denominator in all of them that needed me to tell my life story in not more than 400 words. And I found that to be very disillusioning, very insubstantial. And I think everyone here who has ever written a college SOP or essay will relate to this feeling, right? Of how just 400 or 500 words are not enough to say everything we're feeling. And so in my own process, I actually ended up writing this poem instead of filling out my master's applications. And I decided that versus pursuing a career in biology, because that's what I majored in, I wanted to do something that made me really happy, that I was extremely passionate about, which was to ensure that there is space for all of our stories to be heard beyond just 400 words. It's actually really, really surreal to be performing this poem here today because in a lot of ways, this poem redefined what learning looks like to me, and to have it be part of a conversation that seeks to reimagine learning on a much larger scale, especially in the post-pandemic context, I think is really powerful. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity. This poem is called A Statement of Purpose. I want to start this by saying I do not know how to say this. There are too many people who've said what I want to, but someone once told me our stories are not like the ocean in the sense that they're all consuming, but like the ocean in the sense that you could hear the waves crashing for hours and still not tire of the voice. So I'm hoping there is dignity when I drown. Also, this will sound more like a poem than I intended to because I don't know how else to say that I'm 20 and I want to change the world. Or that when I look into the mirror, I sometimes don't see me at all, but all the people I wish I could be. Or that I feel like I'm missing something, like looking at my life, but like an outsider, always through binoculars and zooming in on the wrong parts. Or like in a waiting line to sadness, wondering if this is my cue to stop being happy. There is no one way to turn 2 decades into 400 words, I have learned. There's no one way to say that here, this took my life and turned it upside down like an hourglass, so I'm looking for who I am again. And funny because I'm now at a point in my life where I get to decide who I want to be for the rest of it. A conundrum I do not know my way around because last summer when I was so sure, I was told to detach, work on the science. Darling, there is really no room for emotions in here and now I'm not so sure anymore. I'm not sure I can handle any more detachment. I'm not sure these fingers can touch bloodstains and not tremble. I'm so terrified of the world and all its people. But this is not my scared poem. This is not my angry poem or my passive aggressive poem. This is only to say that there is as great a chance that you and I are not feeling as there is about our lives turning out to be exactly as we've planned 5 years from now. So excuse me if I do not choose detachment as a career option. You see, 20-year-olds are expected to change the world, but also conform to it. Live but between the start and stop, be but without the being, so one. My voice is a teenage girl getting her first piercing. The courage comes as a consequence of it. 2, a woman disappeared into thin air a few months ago, but everyone who knew her only ever remembers the aftermath. How when they found her, she remembered everyone but herself. How she had answers, but no questions. I do not want to be that woman. 3, I'm very, very bad at learning a new language. I couldn't find the answer to where I'm from for days, and I kept changing it every time somebody said, how are you? So my teacher asked me to remember only the easy answers. I'm still learning what that means. 4, last September, I cried for a week. 5, on the 8th day, I wrote I had a yellow day on the inside of my hands and carried it around like a leaf. I was tired of hurting. I treated my days with a delicacy only others saved for me. A tenderness like my body was a house made of matchsticks, so I had to protect it from all the lightning that came our way. I put all my fears into a box and called it a body. added all my mistakes to it, called it house, colored it with all the laughter I could find, and called it home. We learned to live here now, I said. 6, on the 15th day, I stopped crying. My calendar, a rainbow I'd never really read about. My insides more metaphors than oxygen. 7, this is only to say that nobody ever gets why I study biology and write poetry. I don't do. All I know is that poetry saved me when biology couldn't. So 8, maybe I like my metaphors a little broken and my poems a little unfinished. Maybe there's a little unfinished in all of us, a little incomplete. Maybe there are spaces here that no amount of validation or college acceptances can fill. A space that is ours to hold, ours to mold, ours to color, ours to fill with whatever makes this body a more of a home. 9, I'm learning how to fill this space, learning how to be like I first wrote a poem. Sometimes in the middle of the night with trembling hands, but sometimes in a room full of people, wondering why I haven't been doing this all the time. Thank you so much.
Seep, that was brilliant. That was so powerful and so thought-provoking. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for presenting this for us. It was also so beautifully connected with the theme of the conference. I'm really grateful that you are here and you could present for all of us at the final event of this conference. Thank you so much, Seep, once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're now ready to move on to our next performer. Our next performer is a master's student at the University of Oxford. Her name is Sowaibah. And she has a background in education and public policy and also writes on South Asian culture. So Sawaiba, Shahbaz, please join us and please, over to you. Please start your performance. We're really looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you so much, Mohini, and thank you everyone for this opportunity. I'm really grateful to be here. It's been very informative, and I think a lot of hard work went into it. So just trying to give my little contribution, and I hope you like it. So I'll jump right to it. So the first one is called What of the Children in Kashmir? And we'll start here. क्या गलती कश्मीर की ये है कि वो जिंदा है? Somewhere in the deep valleys of Kashmir, they tell me, what does it matter if you write? The bird inside you can't fly the cage, can't dream of being a sage. Propelled in rage, a strained image, caricature. Upside down, inside out, the schools are bound. Like the footsteps of a free man in a land making sound before it drowns. Says, let it stay. No range to disobey. Control the eraser. Try not to erase. Or perhaps erase the all too much. Can you believe all clothes remain? Free of the person slain by pain. So I have today many reasons to write. Collect, repeat, rewrite. We matter today. Thank you. That was the first one. And I will move on to the second one. I was inspired by seeing this video on how school children in Sri Lanka are managing between the pandemic because of obviously broadband issues, like many parts of South Asia. These students had to actually go inside of trees, and they keep climbing the trees until the broadband is good enough, and they share like these devices, and they're basically attending schools while sitting on trees. So yeah, it's a haiku, and it's named A School Day in Sri Lanka Mid-Pandemic. interweave in trees, braiding stories, broken net, R for rainbow, D for dream. And that was the second one. Which brings me to my last one, which I think is inspired by the current political climate in Pakistan around women being targeted and killed. Just recently, an incident took place that has put the nation in a lot of grief. And I think while that takes place in 2021, it has taken place for many, many years. And I came across this video of a Kathak dancer, Jahanara Clark. This poem is a reflection on the incident of Jahanara Clark, who alongside her father, Zahura Clark, were shot and killed in 1999 in their home in Lahore, Pakistan. Her father was a revered artist in Pakistan and a professor at National College of Arts in Lahore, NCA. And as I just said, Jahanara Clark was an exceptional Kathak dancer. If you haven't, you should definitely look at her videos, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So here we go. This poem is called Jahanara. The dogs are locked, while the brazen, nefarious men are free. As the cold floor spins around her stomping feet, the darkness of her hair, parted in the middle, makes room for unanswerable questions. I see my father paint peonies, uses hues of black and gray. From the narrow corridor where wind wrestles the drawing sari, I glimpse at his taste. An unforgettable artist, forgotten like halted hiccups. Buried so deep that it takes 22 years to exhume. In those years, so much chance is gone. Wallpaper planes, spice fills the edges of verandas. What is it like to be an artist in Pakistan? Is it rich? Is it empty? Do I fill my stomach, or do I let the work fill me? What is it like to be a female artist in Pakistan? Does the smoke raising from her palms instigate, deteriorate the human in thee? Like the hues in Papa's paintings, the future is clear. It is unfair, despair. So this stomp your grace, stealing a mother's ability to embrace a child, a husband, a non-extinguishing grief. I am told it happens every day to artists that dare to breathe. The woman who lay unable to sleep, who dares intoxication's weep. 3 a.m., hand held in air. You could not erase me. The end. Thank you so much. And yeah, that was Sawaiba.
Excellent, Sowaibah. You clearly write from the heart, and it shows. Thank you so much for covering so many issues and so many regions in your performance. That was really, really moving. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thanks for being here. We'll now move on to our final performers. I'm really looking forward to this performance. Bhavna Singh is here to represent the Community Library Project from New Delhi, and she will be introducing our next two performers, Shivam and Shivek, who are students at the library, but also have formed an independent rap duo. We'll be listening to their rap about the happiness curriculum in New Delhi, as well as about the habit of reading in the community library. The rap will be in Hindi, but Bhavna will be setting the context for us before we listen to the rap. So thank you so much, Bhavna, for being here and joining us. We'd love to know more about your work.
Thank you, Mohini, and thank you, the organizer of the conference. I'll just take 5 minutes to introduce my library work, and then you will all enjoy the performance of the young leaders from our community. So I'll just get on to introduce what community library does. Just give me 1 minute. Mohini, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So sometime back, I was reading an article titled "Unpacking a Library: Baba Saheb Ambedkar and His World of Books," where Ambedkar said that workers must think beyond their status as workers and acquire political self-knowledge. I found it extremely important because having a political self-knowledge helps to locate the identity and place of every individual in the society and world at large, so that each one of us can speak for oneself individually and collectively as a part of the community. However, the politics of giving access to knowledge and literature only to a particular section of society and keeping the big percentage away from it and normalizing this visible power structure as well as invisible hierarchies are extremely dangerous to the evolution of self and communities we belong to. This last percentage of the working class and caste oppressed section in India has not only been deprived of the open access to quality literature and education, but also been making sure that they continue to internalize power structure and institutionalized ways of oppression and hierarchies in their mind. Therefore, to acquire political self-knowledge, which Baba Saheb Ambedkar talks about, and the rightful and just place in society, we need a free community library movement in India. The Community Library Project has been playing an active role in building the models of free, excellent, inclusive, democratic open spaces of libraries in Delhi and around the national capital region. We have been working in a manner where our communities who had been historically marginalized would have the right to exercise ownership over the library spaces, a library where they could imagine, design, and create a space which could respond to their lives, families, and communities' need. We have been constantly thinking and working on making such spaces of the library as the space belonging to the community, where they could not just have conversation on the subject of their interest and needs, but can also produce and perform their culture without being judged and discriminated against. This all has been possible because the vision and the mission of the Community Library Project is with us as a guiding light. We have been learning how to direct that light in our everyday work at the library and as a library movement in India. It guides us in finding a work philosophy. Even it helped us in finding our way through COVID pandemic. Because of the lack of intention and preparation on the part of government at every level, our members and their families, who are composed primarily of the working class and those oppressed by caste, were hit by the pandemic very brutally. We reached out to our members in both the first and second waves, and we witnessed the injustice and suffering through listening and recording their narratives. We made the effort to share the stories with the public and try to get the government to listen to their voices. Right after the announcement of the lockdown in March, April 2020, we met and brainstormed about how we can still provide literature as diverse as possible to our members. Consequently, we built a digital library named Dunya Sabki, World is for All, and started providing stories, read alouds of stories in an audio, video, and PDF format. Setting up a library on a website, build a structure to help empower the community to know and fight for their rights. The community library's culture of empowering ourselves by tapping into the power of the collective is best reflected in our young leaders who are taking center stage in their communities and also developing a creative forces. Today, you all will hear the lyrical forces that is Dastak, a rap duo of Shivam and Shivek, young men who are library members, community leaders, and truth tellers. They will present two tracks that question the status quo of the world they live in, but also speak to the power of reading, thinking, and finding one's voice. So the one track, the title of the first track would be Happiness Class, and it is a documentary directed by Samina Mishra, and our young leaders performed in this documentary. And I'll just translate the chorus of the song. And the chorus is the happiness period in school true happiness? Is closing my eyes in class true happiness? If yes, then why, when I open my eyes, am I not satisfied? And in my heart, there is still no happiness. And the second track would be, the title of the second track is Kitabe Bolti Hain, the books speak. And the translation of the chorus is something like this. Don't listen to anyone, the world is at madness peak. Noise can be created even by a drum that is weak. Let me tell you a secret hidden away for centuries. Come to the library. The books speak. Thank you. Mohini, can you play the, yes. Thank you.
Was the sound not audible? Sorry, I will just share this again. Please give me a minute.
रोज रोज निकला मैं खुशियां तलाशनी हर वक्त परेशानी कुछ वक्त मेरे हाथ में खुशियों के स्कूल में रोज होमवर्क करके दिखाना और देना बाकी रहता टेस्ट पूरा पूरा दिन व्यस्त खुशियों के नाम पर बस मिलता एक पीरियड स्कूल में हैप्पीनेस क्लास की फिर वही परेशानी घेर लेती मुझको चारों ओर से फिर गुजरना पड़ता मुझको खुशियों के लिए संघर्ष के दौर से
नई सोच नई उड़ान लेके चलूं पढ़ने घर वालों के हैं सपने मुझे पूरे करने छोटी सी उम्र में मैंने बहुत कुछ सहा अब मैं चला हूँ समाज में बड़ा बनने कुछ करने मेरे कंधों पे बस्तों का बोझ आँख बंद सांस लेता एकत्रित करता सोच किसी भी काम में मैं खुशी लेता खोज न छीन पाओगे खुशी बेशक कर लो अप्रोच यही सोच मैं पूछूं खुशी क्या चीज मन एक जगह लगे काम सारे स्टीज खुशियों की तलाश में न छीनो मेरी खुशी करो मर्सी प्लीज करो मर्सी प्लीज करो मर्सी प्लीज
अभी बाकी रहता रोशन करना नाम माँ बाप का सपना और जीवन में आराम अंजाम अपने उड़ान को अभी देना बाकी है वर्दी में देखना ये सपना मेरे माँ की है क्या स्कूल में हैप्पीनेस की लासी असली खुशी आंखें बंद करके ध्यान देना असली खुशी अगर हाँ तो फिर आंखें खोलने के बाद क्यों मन को ना मिले संतुष्टि क्यों दिल मेरा दुखी है क्या स्कूल में हैप्पीनेस की लासी असली खुशी आंखें बंद करके ध्यान देना असली खुशी अगर हाँ तो फिर आंखें खोलने के बाद क्यों मन को ना मिले संतुष्टि क्यों दिल मेरा दुखी है बोलती मेरी खामोशी आजाद रिश्ते दास्ता, ढूंढने निकला खुशियां बेहद कठिन रास्ता, पढ़ाई का रहता बोझ जो सड़क पर किट रोज खेलना झेलना, घर की परिस्थिति और ऊपर से डर लगा रहता, अगर कहीं पेपर आ गया मुश्किल तो मैं कहीं स्कूल में हो जाऊंगा फेल ना।
खुशनसीबी की खुशियों में हो मगन या शिक्षक बने भगवान करे न मन, थोड़ी सी शांति जो मिटाती तनाव है, खुशी मिले हमको हम कुछ पल के लिए आजाद है, भूल के सामाजिक डर चंद खुशी ही मेरा प्यार है, खेलते हैं सारे जहां गाड़ियों की कतार है, सब ठीक बड़ा बनना एक मकसद, करे मेहनत खुशी न मिल जाए जब तक, तब तक अपने दिल को दे हम शांति, हंसी हंसी से ला दे अपने काम से हम क्रांति, अपने काम से हम क्रांति।
क्या स्कूल में हैप्पीनेस की लासी असली खुशी है, आंखें बंद करके ध्यान देना असली खुशी है, अगर हाँ तो फिर आंखें खोलने के बाद क्यों मन को ना मिले संतुष्टि, क्यों दिल मेरा दुखी है, क्या स्कूल में हैप्पीनेस की लासी असली खुशी है, आंखें बंद करके ध्यान देना असली खुशी है, अगर हाँ तो फिर आंखें खोलने के बाद क्यों मन को ना मिले संतुष्टि, क्यों दिल मेरा दुखी है। किसी के बात पे न आना दुनिया झूलती है, बजने दो बजता तो ढोल भी है, एक राज जो यहाँ पे सदियों से छिपाता, लाइब्रेरी आके देखो किताबें खोलती है, किसी के बात पे न आना दुनिया झूलती है, बजने दो बजता तो ढोल भी है, एक राज जो यहाँ पे सदियों से छिपाता, लाइब्रेरी आके देखो किताबें खोलती है।
बातों की होती शुरुआत है, छोटा दिमाग तो बड़ा मिजाज है अपना, तो एक ही मिजाज की पढ़ना है और पढ़ते ही जाना, इस झोल वाली दुनिया से बड़ा बन के दिखाना है, बड़ा बनने के लिए मुकाम भी तो चाहिए, अपने आप को समझने के लिए TCLP वाला नाम भी तो चाहिए, हाँ जाने से कभी कुछ नहीं मिलता, मेहनत करोगे तभी मिलेगी सफलता, अच्छे काम करोगे तभी खुश होगी जनता, ना है लीडरशिप तो कोई गांधी नहीं बनता, हाँ बनते ये लोग नेता और करते क्राइम में किताबें बोलती है, यही अपना टैग लाइन है, छोटे से ये कमरे किताबों से भरे हैं, है ये निःशुल्क स्वागत सबका कर रहे हैं, पब्लिक से तो ये काफी भरा है, टैलेंट की है ना कमी क्योंकि यहाँ पे बहुत कला है, कला तो यहाँ जी सभी के पास है, जो हाथों से लिख दिया वो बन जाता इतिहास है, जो भी मैंने बोला वो रहता सबको याद है, आओ मेरे साथ सब बोले,
सभी बोलेंगे किसी के बात पे ना आना दुनिया झोलती है, बजने दो बजता तो ढोल भी है, एक राज जो यहाँ पे सदियों से छिपाता, लाइब्रेरी आके देखो किताबें बोलती है, किसी के बात पे ना आना दुनिया झोलती है, बजने दो बजता तो ढोल भी है, एक राज जो यहाँ पे सदियों से छिपाता, लाइब्रेरी आके देखो किताबें बोलती है, 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 किताबें बोलती है ना।
Thank you so much, Bhavna, for being here and introducing the work of the library. This was absolutely amazing. It was so powerful and so subversive. And I love how they challenge some of the issues that they brought up in their rap. And the writing is just brilliant. I'm so glad we could feature them. I remember listening to the library rap when they had created it some time ago. And I'm so glad that we could feature it today at this conference. Thank you, Bhavna, for setting the context so beautifully about the free library movement that you're a part of. I really appreciate that.